When I was younger, Ariel was a freaking inspiration to me. She was someone I related to in a completely unrelated way. I mean, I'm not a fish. Others had their idols. I had Ariel. She was strong, independent, determined, just the woman I wanted to grow up to be someday. But I just watched this the other day, and let me tell you, those opinions that I had as a child drastically changed. Look, I know we all love The Little Mermaid. We grew up with The Little Mermaid. But all I could think about during the movie was, girl, you're 16. You're still a child. Relax. But you know what? Why don't we just start from the very beginning? You see, I didn't just watch The Little Mermaid. I saw the prequel and the sequel. So let's get started. At the very start, it all begins. Hold on. Let me retry. So it all began with them no. So their story commences? Their story begins with them as a beautiful mer family enjoying their time on the surface. It was very clear to see that King Triton was deeply in love with his beautiful wife, and to show her his appreciation for her, he gives her a music box.
Our song.
But an awful turn of events causes this family to swim for their lives, except one mermaid. And why don't you take a wild guess on who this mermaid is? Yup, you're right. King Triton's wife. And can you guess why? For a music box. She risked her life for a music box. A music box is what ultimately causes her death. I talk about death a lot in these videos. That's very depressing. Anyway, so after her death, King Triton is obviously very traumatized, and from then on, instead of ruling with his brain, he starts to rule with his emotions, which is very dangerous. He goes as far as to put a ban on music. So it is illegal to play music or to sing. It's illegal, and you will be put in jail immediately.
Lock him away.
And because of this, music lovers all over his kingdom had to hide in secret just to play music, which reminds me a lot of the 1920s. Not that I was alive in the 1920s, I'm just saying it reminds me of the prohibition of alcohol during that time. I think my favorite part of this movie is when we see Sebastian in that club for the first time. Like literally when I saw him, I was like, like if it was the biggest twist I've ever seen in a movie. It's a kids movie and I was over here acting like it was the biggest shock of my life. I need sleep. But the prequel overall was actually pretty enjoyable. I really liked this movie. Well, I wouldn't say really liked this movie, but I enjoyed it. I really liked the characters, the new characters. My favorite is Benjamin. The villain in this story, I understood her motives even though she was a bit crazy.
Lost your mind.
But it wasn't a bad movie. I actually really enjoyed it. So The Little Mermaid is obviously the best movie out of the three, but this is where Ariel really starts to annoy me. Like, sure, she's a teenager, she's curious, she's young, whatever, she wants to go explore. Except for the fact that King Triton is actually kind of right on this. He has rules for a reason. He knows how dangerous the surface is, and that's why he don't want you to go up to the surface. I mean, think of it this way. If you were a parent and your kid wanted to go into the ocean, deep into the ocean, what would you say? You'd say no. Why? Because it's dangerous. Those rules are set for a reason. I mean, the first time we see her go up into the surface, and not to mention, she's 16. Of course, her father doesn't want her to marry some stranger he knows nothing about, and that very same year have a kid. Which brings us on to the sequel.
This here's Tip, and I'm Dash.
Excuse me, Mr. I spill my guts to total strangers.
Okay, so the sequel... How do I put this? I hated it. I hated it so much. I fell asleep during this movie. The characters aren't really likable in this movie, and they didn't even try on the villain. She's just a replica of Ursula. Like, come on. Come on. I'm to the point where I just don't want to talk about this movie because that's how much I don't like it. You know, if you think about it, all three movies are exactly the same. They all have a parent that sets some strict rules for their child, to which then the child disobeys and gets themselves into a dilemma that has to be resolved. And in that same resolution, the parent always realizes that they were wrong the whole entire time. But the original movie did it the best and the sequel was trash. Okay, before you go, and you probably already know this, but I'm kind of late on this, I want to prove to you something. Cinderella, Tangled, Frozen, and The Little Mermaid are all within the same time frame. They're all in the mid to late 1800s, and they all exist in the same world. Oh, also Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, and what's his name? Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, and Goofy. In The Little Mermaid, you can see Goofy, Mickey, and Donald Duck, and you can see the father of Prince Charming and the Duke from Cinderella, if you didn't know. And you can see Rapunzel in Frozen. And a lot of people think that The Little Mermaid is connected to Frozen and Tangled, that this ship sink, and that's what the Little Mermaid finds, and the parents actually get stranded on an island, then make a baby, and the baby is Tarzan. So actually Tarzan is actually in this world as well. But not only that, in The Princess and the Frog, there's this parade, and guess who is on this float? Well, he's not actually on this float, but his statue or whatever, King Triton. So I don't know what this is. I don't know if they're like, it's like a memorial, not a memorial, but like they're remembering him and his great glory or whatever. And also in Aladdin, you can actually see Sebastian as well. So how many movies is that? So that would be Cinderella, Little Mermaid, Frozen, Tangled, Princess of the Frog, Aladdin, and Tarzan. Is that it?